Thank you for coming. Today we are going to be discussing the Volley Standard Networking Library and its proposed implementation in the Android development group here at Mechanical Technologies Incorporated. Currently, we do make use of standard libraries in a number of different applications in other roles in the Android development group, but we do not apply them to our networking technology. This is where the Volley standard library comes in. Now, there's a well-known need for standardization in any technological field, but the specifics that come with networking technology mean that without standards, we can have performance problems, inefficiencies in the development and test time of our code, and there are numerous security flaws that crop up from a lack of standard library usage. With performance, there are a number of memory errors and memory leaks that can be caused and exist within our current code base. We've run into these before. They're usually a result of the ad hoc nature of our network communications programming. And there's also networking traffic efficiency. The standards of our code as compared to that of similar competitor applications is somewhat lacking due to our lack of standard library usage and unexpected behavior, more commonly referred to as glitches or bugs. There are always a certain amount of bug-prone when dealing with internet access of any sort, but the lack of a standard library has only increased our problems of this nature. When it comes to development time, I've actually prepared a chart here that demonstrates the time in weeks it takes to both develop and then fully test a number of the different fields for our Android development group. When using the physics engine, we have an Android average development time of 8 weeks before we implemented libraries, 6 weeks with it, and a QA time of 6 weeks without standard libraries, and 4 weeks with. I'm not going to list each one specifically, but it should be clear from the graph that the implementation of standard libraries has significantly reduced the development time of all of our technologies that we use, as well as the test time. The network communications graph, the green and yellow bars are projected performance increases with the Volley networking library taken from the data we've gathered after we standardized our other 3 main development projects with standard libraries. Finally, there are security flaws that are inherent to all mobile applications. The number and nature of these flaws is prolific. They're very common, and the mobile market is currently seeing something of a boom in malware as malware producers have become aware of the very large and untapped market that mobile users and applications represent in terms of phishing scams, security vulnerabilities, and other potential attacks. So, standard libraries have the advantage here where they are constantly being updated by Google to fix any found security flaws, and it has the similar advantage of protecting against known exploits, where every time a new exploit is found, our programmers would have to update manually to fix it. With standard libraries, we can take advantage of that work already being done by Google to protect the reputation and integrity of their Android operating system. So, some of the research I've found regarding standardization is outside of our own company is that it results in improved efficiency in both the production and development time of new products. This is something we've seen in the fields where we've already implemented standard libraries, and it improves the client-side performance. This is, again, consistent with our own expectations, and the improvements in security are manifest as well. And finally, there's a compliance. By implementing standard libraries, we are complying with industry standards. And what we found is that when we have a new hire or a new member brought onto the team, by having standard libraries in place, they're able to acclimate to the development environment faster. We've seen this in other areas of our team, as well as the networking team. And by implementing these standard libraries, we can help make the transition for new recruits easier because we are in compliance with industry standards. Now, there is a significant cost to this upgrade. Mostly the cost is going to come from lost production time. There's a small amount of training time that needs to be allocated. Note, this is the normal salary for these positions, but because of the training, it needs to be allocated to training budgets. And the lost production time is the primary cost associated with this project. There's also lost time for QA as we upgrade to the new standard libraries. Because of the nature of this upgrade, rather than just doing a simple production test, we need to do a full and comprehensive set of test programs, more than just a simple update would entail, because we're replacing a lot of legacy code, and we have to ensure that all of it works fully with the newly implemented standards. But once they're fully implemented, we should be able to see a drop in development and QA time resulting from that. So our projected timetable is that we start 1 week from now in the second week of July, and that's when we start training all of the new devs on the new standards. 1 week of training should be sufficient to get them up to speed. It's not a large library, and there is good existing documentation, like all of Google's standard libraries. And the third week of July, we begin rewriting our legacy code. As I mentioned, this is going to take up a lot of time. We're losing some production time here where we would otherwise be working on other projects, but after 3 weeks of rewriting is the predicted time to rewrite our existing code base for all of our currently supported applications. Second week of August, we begin the QA cycle. Like always, QA has to work with the devs. It's not just a finish the code and send it out to QA. It's an ongoing process where the developers have to update the code as QA finds new bugs and fix anything they find. Once we're done the QA cycle in the second week of September, we'll have one more week of final proofing, ensuring everything is compliance with the standards, and then we deploy code to production servers in the third week of September. So, in conclusion, by implementing the Volley standard networking library, we'll be able to improve our production time for both developers and QA team. So this should affect all of our apps going forward that use network communication, which is the vast majority of them. It will increase the security of those apps with their network communication usage, make it less vulnerable to hackers and any other malware. It will improve our client-side performance, should get rid of some of the memory issues we've been seeing, as well as improving our battery life usage, and finally it will bring us into compliance with industry standards so that when other companies want to be using our products, or we have new hires coming on from similar companies, they'll be able to see that we're complying with industry standards and we have better quality code because of it. And lastly, I have to ask if you have any questions. I don't see any raised hands, so I'll take that as a no. And finally, I've got my references here for some of the research I did if anyone wanted to follow up on this technology.